UFC 266 is this weekend. 2 title fights at the top of the card. What has everyone talking is the return of Nick Diaz facing off against another legend, Robbie Lawler. Now, Nate's older brother hasn't fought since 2015, hasn't won a fight in nearly a decade, but the Diaz brothers, so beloved, you put them on a card, they'll be the focal point. For everyone who doesn't know, Robin Black, great to see you, my friend, our MMA insider. How would you, my friend, describe Nick Diaz?
That is a tough but appreciated assignment. You know, when you get to talk about a special individual, often when we're watching fighting or the Olympics or anything, we'll talk about the athlete. He's a brilliant javelin thrower or a gymnast or fighter, but it's the individual that makes that. You know, Nick Diaz is a visceral, real, violent, complicated individual. And it's his individuality that makes him a special fighter. You know, you can't buy, you can't even learn the things that he has. Toughness, heart, grit, will, all ferociousness, all of these things. And, a lot of times today, athletes are somewhat cookie cutter. There's a structure to a great hockey player or a great fighter or a great football player. Nick Diaz is a throwback to where it is about the human. It is about the human behind the movements.
Now, we know Nate Diaz is a massive fan favorite, especially after his fights with Conor. Everybody loves him. But for Nate, he grew up idolizing his brother Nick. How special is that relationship for both of them?
Yeah, I mean, we might look at Nate Diaz and whether he's an anti-hero, a villain, or a hero or a superhero. His superhero was his big brother. And there's a beauty in that. His big brother taught him martial arts. His big brother taught him to protect himself. The guys or the fighters or the women growing up in tough conditions and using that as fuel to fight, that's not a new story. But the way they grew up in Stockton, fighting for respect, protection, to build a life for themselves. Nick Diaz pioneered this fighting life for his younger brother, Nate. And he's Nate's superhero. I mean, they're both so unique, but they're very similar. They have that genetic similarity as well as that environmental and emotional and psychological similarity.
So with any Diaz fight week, there's always something that could potentially derail it, Robin, and we've seen it happen. News came out that rather than fighting at 170, the Diaz camp approached Lawler's camp about potentially fighting at 185. Lawler says he's not letting that bother him. What do you make of this, Robin? Tell us what you make of this sudden change and this desire from the Diaz camp.
So, press conferences, interviews, weight classes, hierarchies, rankings, even titles, even belts. These are just trinkets to people like Diaz and Robbie Lawler. They're constructs. What fighting is about are the moments these two rare and unique human beings will spend in the cage. And guys like this, they don't care what weight it is. They could call each other up and say, hey, we're supposed to do this thing they call weight cutting and show up and weigh 170 pounds shirtless on a scale, and then a day later we'll be 190. Why don't we just not eat breakfast and weigh in and fight? It's about a fighting anyways. It is that nature, all of these things, the next title shot, even belts, these things are constructs to sell pay-per-views, attract attention, to create debate. But to men like Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz, they're all irrelevant. Blow all that stuff out. It's knuckle on bone, bone on bone, knuckle on knuckle, and let's meet in the cage. And that's what it's about to them. And for real Nick Diaz fans, that's what it's about to us too.
So I got one more for you. For Nick to win his first fight since 2011, what'll have to happen?
He'll have to punch Robbie Lawler more times than Robbie Lawler punches him. And I'm being a bit facetious, but ultimately, what we'll see, something as simple as a jab or a punch or wrestling with somebody else, it looks like a simple thing, but these are sort of ornately complicated things. And for Nick Diaz, he tries to overwhelm your mind with possibilities, distractions, giving you the finger, talking to you, all these wily tricks, these crusty old man fighting tricks. You know, he might have slowed down a bit, he might be a little weaker, but those weren't his strengths anyways. It was his mind, it was his craftiness. That's what won Nick Diaz fights. That's what we like about Nick Diaz, and if he's going to beat Robbie Lawler, big, strong, powerful, just as tough as him, he's going to outthink him and outperform him.
It's been a long time since we've seen you. It's great to see you, Robin. Thanks so much for joining us on the show.
Great to see you too, my friend. Enjoy the hostilities.